I come from the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte at Tyendinaga, and we're a pre-Confederation agreement. We were allies with the English, both pre and during the War of 1812. And our people came up from the Mohawk Valley via Ganawage and up the rest of the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario. Some of our community went on to the Halderman Track, Six Nations. And so that's where I am from. We don't see it we often don't refer to it as a treaty process. It was a negotiation post being allies that Queen Anne honored, and the track where, or at least part of the track where the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte are on now is part of that treaty process. So we don't necessarily refer to a treaty area. It was a result of us being allies with Britain during early wars and boundary disputes, and certainly the War of 1812. So we came up from the Mohawk Valley in New York and all the way down coast to Pennsylvania, first to Ganawage and then up the river to settle. And we stopped at what's now Tyendinaga, and the rest of the group went on to Ohsweken. So it was before the War of 1812, but it certainly included it. And the agreement was with Queen Anne, and she established the set-aside for where my home community is now. In the case of Tyendinaga, over a variety of years, land grants were made out of our community, and we came to a point in the 70s where we were looking at getting that land back. Unfortunately, because our neighbors had never bothered to learn the history, and they were shocked, like, what do you mean you have a land claims process in place and you want the land back? So I think it's important that we all learn about it. I think that they set out relationships and how we are to be with each other. I think they speak in relationship to notions of trust, of friendship, of respect, of peaceful coexistence. They don't talk about power dynamics and who has power over one or the other. And if we had those conversations, if children learn them from the time they were born, or they come over here and settle, it would be easier to understand when we're trying to right historical wrongs about access to land and about protection of land. So the impact of treaties on my family really have been exacerbated by the Indian Act's implementation process, trying to think that they were implementing the treaties. So I have relatives who do not have status. I have aunts who married out and had to leave the community. I had relatives who were enfranchised as a result of the war. One of the great things about Tyendinaga was she didn't ask her veterans to leave, and she didn't want to, but in those days we didn't have a lot of control over our membership, and certainly some people fell through the procedures of the day. We have issues with respect to community size. I talked about the land, being traded by unscrupulous people who are supposed to be looking out for our best interest. So there's a lot of pressure on the community about the size of the community and land and making it available. There are issues with respect to hunting and to fishing and who can do what and what rights, and even a conversation about, does that extend to Indigenous rights with respect to those kinds of harvesting? Do they include commercial? Do they include your ability to make a living to do that? So I think there's been lots of impact over the years about treaty on my family and certainly in my community. The very first treaty is 104 years old. It's a wampum belt that the Mohawks had in New York and again all the way down to Pennsylvania with the Dutch, and eventually the English came, and it's called the Goswenta. And those are the first notions of treaties being as long as the grass grows, the rivers flow, and the sun shines. It didn't say, well, it's convenient to us, or until we forget about it. So I want to reference that because today we're very much doing modern treaties. We've been through a whole series of pre-Confederation, post-Confederation number treaties, and now modern treaties. We're actually trying in claims processes, in treaty settlements, in developing brand new treaties, if people read across the country, different relationships. And so I think it is absolutely imperative that everybody, again, bother to learn this, so that they remember it, that they talk about it. And I think in some respects, when we didn't pay attention to them, when the government didn't want us to have the conversation, well, we couldn't hold our ceremonies, well, we couldn't gather without the RCMP or a priest present. All those things led us to maybe not paying the attention we should have. And I think the time is now. I think our children, our future generations, people who are watching this, they need a new relationship, and that new relationship is what treaties are about.